17 minutes of reasons why you should not start looking at houses until you're under offer on your own. What's an agent's goal when they put a client's house to market? Should I start looking before I go on the market?
Until you've got an offer on yours, you don't actually know what money you've got to play around with.
What I've always said to people is, my job is to get you options.
The best possible price is not necessarily the highest price.
50% of houses change estate agents before eventually selling.
Yeah.
Choose an estate agent that you trust to advise you, not just stick your house on Rightmove. How things are handled are so important in any market or whatever situation, but particularly upsizing.
Yeah.
Because now we're breaking down, the number one thing everyone asks, should I go on the market before, should I start looking before I go on the market? Yada, yada, yada. No is the answer.
Yeah.
In fact, even worse, more than that, don't even start looking until you've got a secure buyer on your house. And the really important point on that is because that buyer will determine how attractive you are as a buyer and how bullish you can be in a negotiation. Because if your eventual buyer is in rented with a 50% mortgage deposit versus under offer on their 2-bed house, they're selling a 1-bed flat, and the chain's really long behind you, you're not going to be attractive.
No.
So this comes back to, what's an agent's goal when they put a client's house to market?
2, I would say. Sell it to the best buyer for the best possible price. Now, that's a bit of a trick one in the sense that the best possible price is not necessarily the highest price if the best buyer is offering slightly less.
I weren't sure if that question was going to backfire on me, but I'm so happy that it didn't.
You can pay me later.
And that's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say. As in, so what I've always said to people is, my job is to get you options, not a buyer.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get you full asking price, 20 grand under asking price, and 20 grand over asking price. But back to what you've just said, you need to get the client the outcome that best suits their situation.
So I've just had it the start of this week with a property that I launched. I'm going to just show off a minute. I launched on Thursday. We had lots of viewings on Saturday. We had 3 offers come Monday.
Oh, that one.
Perfect. But the 3 offers that came in, we had one that was a first-time buyer, 15 under the asking price. We then had, and this was best and final offers, so obviously all of them started at different places. We worked our magic and negotiated them up and everything else. First time buyer, 15,000 under. Person in a chain but under offer, short chain at the asking price. And then someone else who had a buyer, but that buyer wasn't proceedable yet, and it was all very open-ended and therefore not proceedable technically. They offered 15 over the asking price. So we had 15 under, 15 over and asking price, all different situations. Oh. And the seller and I then had a really long conversation about what's the best scenario for them. Yeah. They opted to go for the middle, so under offer, proceedable, asking price. They didn't want to be too greedy and try and get more but you don't know what that's going to end up resulting in because it's not a complete chain yet.
You could play silly games and have less, couldn't you, at the end of it as well?
And because the other thing that's really important, which applies for you as a buyer and a seller, or just for the people coming in and buying yours, until you've got an offer on yours, you don't actually know what money you've got to play around with.
Yeah.
So an offer from someone who's not under offer doesn't really mean anything. No. Because if they don't get the offer that they want, then they can't offer you what they've offered. And therefore it just ends up getting renegotiated later on.
And data says that the average property sells for, I think it's 82% of its original market launch price. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying asking price, market launch price, because we know that on average 50% of houses change estate agents before eventually selling.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and be quick at explaining this, but we all know that you go on the market at 500 grand because it was overvalued generally by the agents that were pitching for the business. Tie you into a long contract, yada, 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 work the price down. So let's say you go on at 500, doesn't work out, reduced to 475, you've missed the boat, you move to another estate agent, they went on the market at 450, and then you're 50 grand already, which is 10% down from what your original market launch price.
Yep.
Then it's been on the market now 3 months, 4 months, kicking about the market. Buyers aren't very interested in it. And so you get an offer of, I don't know, what figures were I talking about?
450 you're at, so 45?
45, and then all of a sudden you're way below, around the 85% of original market price. Now, the reason why the point you've just said is really important, because we have it all the time. I've just gone on the market, 500,000. My agent says I'm going to have buyers queuing up so I can afford 600,000. So that, and we'll touch on this in a minute about the ultimate goal, but that 600,000 budget they thought they had based on selling at 500 has now become 525 because they've sold at 425. So it's wooden dollars, I think I would call it.
Yeah, or monopoly money.
Monopoly money, exactly. So there's 17 minutes of reasons why you should not start looking at houses until you're under offer on your own.
Yeah.
Love that. And what you touched on, which I waffled on about something, which I went off point, but you said me and the seller discussed each offer.
Yeah.
Choose an estate agent that you trust to advise you, not just stick your house on Rightmove. When you're employing an estate agent, you're employing, notice the words I use there, someone to get you from where you are to where you want to be. You're upsizing. But not only that, in the best financial position possible.